Okay, here we have a table, and this video is for Austin, because Austin said he's going to watch this multiple times. So tomorrow when I check in on it, and there's 0 views of this video, we will know that Mr. Austin Hogg may be a liar. All right. So for this question, we are given the fraction 34/200ths, and we're asked to change it to both a decimal and a percent. So of course, from our experiences, there are 2 ways to change any fraction to a decimal. Divide the numerator by the denominator is one way. You get 0.17. But another way is to create an equivalent fraction out of 100. So since the denominator is 200, it's really simple to create an equivalent fraction by dividing both by 2. And 34 divided by 2 is 17. Now this is useful in not only writing it as 1700ths as a decimal, but it's also incredibly easy to write it as a percent because all percentages are fractions out of 100. The second question says 0.004, which we'll read as 4 10,000ths for, oh sorry, it's 4 thousandths, not 10 thousandths. Where's my eraser? 4 thousandths, which as a fraction is 4 over 1,000, which as a lowest term fraction is 1 over 250 because both of these are by 4. But as a percentage, since we want to have fractions that are equivalent over 100 for percents, as an equivalent fraction that's over 100, I could divide both by 10 to get 0.4, which means you can write it as 0.4%, or if you wanted to, you could write it as 0.4%, or if you're even more clever, you can write it as 0.2%. All of those are the exact same answer. Your next question says 12.75%. In brackets, I'm going to put, just for my own well-being, 12.75%. And the reason why I'm writing it like that is because over here, when I do it as a fraction, I want to start with this 12.75 out of 100, which is 12.75% as a fraction that we're not going to keep because it has a decimal. And in order to get rid of an equivalent fraction that has no decimal, I'm going to need to move that numerator's decimal 2 spots, which means if I multiply it by 100, I'll get 12.75. But of course, to keep it equivalent, must multiply the bottom, which is 10,000. So now we have our 1275 over 10,000, or 1275 10,000ths, or 1275 tenths, 100,000ths, 10,000ths. Now, if you reduce that to lowest terms, I think we agreed that if you divide both by 5, you get 265 over 2,000, which is not lowest terms either. Oh, I give up on it. Don't reduce that to lowest terms. It's too much of a headache. Just keep it like that. It's beautiful. Your fraction, what was it, Herbie? Thank you very much. Very clever. 50.400ths is your lowest terms. As a decimal, 3 10,000ths would be hundredths, thousandths, sorry, tenths, 100,000ths, 10,000, 0.003. And as a percent, if I was to create an equivalent fraction by dividing both by 100, I would get, it would be 0.03 over 100, which is 0.03%. Or if you want to get clever, you can write it as 3/100ths of a percent. And finally, your last one, 124 9/10%. In brackets, I'm going to start off by saying it's 124 9/10%, which means it's 124.9 out of 100, or 1,249 over 1,000, or 1 and 249 over 1,000. Right? We go from an improper fraction to a mixed. How many thousands are there in 1,249? There's 1 with 249 left over. And that's easy because 1 and 249 thousandths as a decimal is 1.249.